At that time, Jesus said to his disciples, I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails you, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. If then you have not been faithful with the unrighteous wealth, who will entrust to you the true riches? And if you have not been faithful with that which is another's, who will give you that which is not yours? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. The Pharisees, who were lovers of money, heard all these things, and they ridiculed him. And he said to them, You are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your hearts. For what is exalted among men is an abomination in the sight of God. The Gospel of the Lord. My brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, there is a story told about Bill Gates when he was still the richest man on earth. Don't know how true it is, but as a message. A journalist once asked him, while he was still the richest man, do you think there is anyone else who is richer than you? And so Bill Gates goes on to tell us an event in his life, wherein 19 years ago, when he was still an ordinary man, a young man, landed in New York at the airport and wanted to pick up a newspaper. When he went into the stall, he picked up the newspaper, but he did not have the change to pay the newspaper man. He put the paper back and he wanted to walk away. But the man stopped him and he said, You can have it. I will give it for free. Bill Gates refused, but he insisted, it's okay, it's fine. I can afford to give you a free copy. You can have it. So Bill Gates takes his free copy and walks away. Few months later, he finds himself at the same spot, wanted to pick up newspaper, but again finds that he has no change. The man once again says, You can have it. It's okay. I can afford to give you a free copy. Bill Gates gets another free copy. 19 years later, he remembers this kind gesture of this newspaper man. And when he finds himself again at the airport in New York, he walks to the stand and looks for this man and finally finds him. Then he asks the man, Do you know who I am? So the man says, Well, sure, the whole world knows you. You're the richest man on earth. He says, Do you remember once you were kind to me and you gave me 2 free copies twice in 2 occasions? I want to pay back. What can I do for you? So the man said, I'm not very sure about the free copies, but I might have done that, but I don't know whether you can pay me back. Bill Gates is surprised. He said, Why not? I have all the money in the world. I can give what you ask. Then the man says, I gave you when I had nothing. I was a poor newspaper man. But though I did not have anything, I gave you a free copy. But now you have all the riches in the world. No matter what you give, how is it going to match my kindness? Concluding his story, Bill Gates said, At that moment I realized that he was the richest man on earth, or at least richer than me, because he gave in his poverty while I was trying to give out of my riches. Well, my dear friends, there is a message in it. Because generosity is not about what we give or how much we possess and how much we give, but it is the attitude of the heart. It is the disposition that we have towards wealth. Do we consider ourselves to be stewards? And all that has been given to us is a gift given to us by God. We have a very interesting gospel today. Jesus speaks about unfaithful wealth. Why does he qualify wealth as unfaithful? Is he referring to money gained through illegal or to fraudulent methods or immoral ways of earning monies? I think what Jesus is talking here is about the nature of money in itself. Because if you look around, money seems to give us a lot of security. But when we recognize that how perishable wealth is, it cannot take us beyond the boundaries of this life. Eternity has nothing to do with the treasures that we collect here. Unless, Jesus says, if that unworthy, in other words, the wealth that cannot keep its promises, which gives out false security to people, if that has to serve you, give it to the poor. Or in other words, make treasures in heaven. Once a chartered accountant, he was giving an interview. He was a Catholic man, but a very professional and a very sought-out man for his financial advices. He said, like, people usually ask me, what are the best ways to invest? Real estate or shares or property, gold. So he said, like, I give them advice, but at the end of it, I give something that I am convinced of. He says, if you really want a good investment that is secure and also gives you much more back in reward, do charity. Spare a part of your earning and give it to the poor, and you will surely get much more, and your investments will be secure. Why? Because the one who promises is not an ordinary man, but it's God himself. He says, you will have treasure in heaven. A bank account that will not go corrupt. A bank that will not shut its doors. A bank that will keep its promise and pay you back. And that's what Jesus says in the gospel today. Store treasures in heaven where no moths can eat it or no thief can take it away from you. And I read an interesting meme which said, when God blesses you with wealth, don't just raise your standard of living, but raise your standard of giving. I think that's a very powerful statement there. Because human tendency is, as much as we get things from outside, like when we are blessed with wealth, we try to make things comfortable for us. From a small car to the bigger one, from 2 BHK to a 4 BHK or a villa or another flat to rent out. We try to make ourselves secure with the wealth of the world. But our faith invites us, Jesus invites us today, make use of that to make your eternity secure, not just your life here. And how will you do that? Raise your standard of giving. Today, as we participate in this Holy Eucharist, my dear friends, the Scriptures invites us to put our heart where our true treasure should be. Not just here on earth, but for the great reward that's awaiting us in heaven.